Have you ever found yourself working towards an important goal only to spectacularly fail because you did something stupid? Or maybe you feel stressed and anxious when you're trying to achieve something that is important, something good. This might make you feel more and more frustrated, discouraged, and angry when you try and do something and you always find yourself failing at the same point. Today, I want to talk about self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. What is self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is a subconscious or deliberate behavior. In fact, behaviors, thoughts, or actions that hinder or undermine your own progress or your well-being. It is a self-destructive pattern that can arise from different things or factors such as fear, failure, low self-esteem, self-doubt, past traumas that you've not dealt with, or a lack of belief in your own abilities. Examples of self-sabotaging behaviors includes procrastination, perfectionism, avoiding opportunities for growth, negative self-talk, excessive self-criticism, pushing people away in relationships, or engaging in self-destructive habits like substance abuse. Now, some of you might think that perfectionism is a good thing, pushing away people in relationships is a good thing, but sometimes it can be a form of self-sabotage. So self-sabotage can be damaging to your personal and professional life, as it prevents you from reaching your full potential and achieving your goals. Imagine if you're the kind of person that always agrees to certain deadlines and you deliver late and the work is not complete. You sabotage your own promotion prospects because you'll be seen as someone who's not reliable. So that small thing, even of coming late to work or events, you'll be seen as unreliable and people cannot count on you for those kinds of things. So often, we engage in self-sabotaging behaviors as a defense mechanism to protect ourselves from potential failure or disappointment. But in doing so, we inadvertently hinder our own progress and success. It can happen consciously or subconsciously. Sometimes you're not even aware that that's what you do unless somebody points it out to you. So self-sabotaging behaviors can affect your personal and professional success, like I said, as well as mental health. Self-sabotage is directed towards oneself. Normally we think of sabotage as something that is directed to somebody else, like he's sabotaging the team so that the team doesn't do well. But self-sabotage is sabotage that is directed at yourself. And most people do not recognize these harmful actions. Yes, self-sabotage is harmful. However, these negative habits, when they persistently and consistently undermine your efforts, they can be seen as a form of self-harm. Although we usually talk about self-sabotaging behavior, it's also possible to have self-sabotaging mindsets and thinking patterns. So it doesn't just start with the behavior. It starts in the mind. Becoming aware of what causes self-sabotage is key to breaking self-sabotaging patterns. Now, I would like us to identify self-sabotage. Identifying self-sabotage. There are many different patterns associated with self-sabotage. One of the most essential steps in identifying self-sabotage behavior is to develop a self-awareness. And right now, even as I speak, you can begin to develop that self-awareness. So self-awareness or introspection is critical to noticing unhelpful patterns that do not serve you. So introspection has to do with looking inside to say, but what is it that causes me to always stumble at this particular point? When you've introspected, then you begin to reflect on the times that it has happened and what it has cost you. Because a lot of the time, we are not allocating a cost to these thinking patterns and this behavior. Sometimes it's even monetary costs. Because if you're in business and you always overpromise and underdeliver, that is self-sabotage. And it's unhelpful. But when you begin to introspect, you are strengthening your ability to stop such behaviors in their tracks. So a helpful way to begin identifying forms of self-sabotage is to frame your situation using the following sentence. I want to achieve this goal, but I keep doing this behavior. Now, one of the things that I normally advise people that I speak with when I'm coaching and all that is the use of a journal. So right now, if you are writing notes, you might want to write, I want to achieve this goal, but I keep doing X behavior. That stops me from achieving my goal. Or for example, I want to get a passport, but I keep missing the appointment. So recognizing self-sabotaging patterns is the first step towards addressing and overcoming them. Building self-awareness, practicing self-compassion, and setting realistic goals can also help in breaking free from every cycle of self-sabotage. Now, what is the relationship between self-sabotage and self-esteem? What is the relationship between self-sabotage and self-esteem? Self-sabotage and self-esteem are closely related. Self-esteem refers to the overall evaluation of your self-worth and how much you value yourself. It is an important aspect of your psychological well-being and plays a significant role in shaping how you perceive yourself, how you see yourself, how you relate with others, and how you approach the changes in life. So the level of your self-esteem determines how you see yourself. It determines how you relate with other people, and it determines how you approach the challenges in life. I'm talking about the relationship between self-sabotage and self-esteem. The relationship between self-sabotage and self-esteem can be described in the following ways. Number one, low self-esteem and self-sabotage. People with low self-esteem often carry feelings of inadequacy. I am not good enough. Unworthiness, I'm not worthy. Or a lack of confidence in their abilities. This negative self-perception can lead to self-sabotaging behaviors, as one might start to believe deep down that they are not capable of achieving success or deserving happiness. So when you start to feel happy, you feel something is going to go wrong and you do something that messes up that happiness. As a result, they engage in behaviors that undermine their chances of success or fulfillment, reinforcing those negative self-beliefs. Number two, perfectionism. Now, a lot of us think that perfectionism is a good thing. So some people with low self-esteem may become perfectionists, setting impossibly high standards for themselves and other people. They may feel that they must be perfect to be accepted or worthy. When they inevitably fall short of these unattainable standards, they may sabotage their efforts, as nothing they will do will ever be good enough. Even if it's good enough, their perfectionism will say, no, this is not good enough. Number 3, negative self-talk. Now, the most important conversation any human being can have is the one that he has with himself. So the most important conversations you are having are those ones that happen between yourself and yourself, in your head. And this negative self-talk creates a negative self-image and low self-esteem. Because you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good enough. You end up developing low self-esteem, and it leads to a constant flow of self-critical thoughts and negative self-evaluation. The internal dialogue that you have with yourself can erode confidence and create a self-fulfilling prophecy when things do not work. So you've told yourself that I'm not good enough. And so when you do a job, it's not good enough. So you then affirm that negative thought, that negative self-talk that I'm not good enough, thereby sabotaging yourself. Number 4, I'm still talking about self-sabotage and self-esteem. So there's a relationship between self-worth and self-sabotage. Self-esteem is closely related to feelings of self-worth. If we do not believe that we deserve happiness, success, or love, we may engage in self-sabotaging behaviors that prevent us from achieving these positive outcomes. I heard a story of someone, they were doing something and things were working very well. And then this guy says, things are going on so well. Something is bound to go wrong. And guess what? Something did go wrong. So it is important to note that while self-esteem is a common driver of self-sabotage, it's not the only factor. Self-sabotaging behaviors can also stem from other psychological issues such as past traumas and learned coping mechanisms. Addressing and improving self-esteem through self-compassion, therapy, positive self-affirmations, and other interventions can help break the cycle of self-sabotage and promote healthier attitudes and behaviors. How does self-sabotage damage you? A lot of us have been damaged by self-sabotage, and we don't know the source of the negative outcomes. Self-sabotage sets you up to fail in a number of ways. It damages you by hindering success and achievement, leading to missed opportunities. Remember, I talked about that intern or that worker who always overpromises and underdelivers. Each time you do it, you can say, I'm sorry, and they will forgive you. But next time they're considering someone to appoint for a higher position, guess what? You're going to miss that opportunity because you sabotage yourself. Number 2, self-sabotage can impact your health. Mental health, to be specific. A lot of people are dealing with mental health issues, and there's increased stress, anxiety, and feelings of worthlessness. Number 3, damaging relationships through negative behaviors and self-destructive tendencies. No one wants to deal with that person who is always self-sabotaging. Number 4, reinforcing negative self-beliefs and limited personal growth and learning. So one of the things that we know is that we have to develop ourselves. But lack of consistency is a form of self-sabotage. Procrastination, I will do that degree next year. I will read that book next week. Let me just finish this series that I'm watching. Meanwhile, the projects are piling up and the deadlines are drawing close. Self-sabotage. But what happens when you sabotage yourself? You become indecisive. It is harder to make decisions. You engage in people-pleasing. People-pleasing is a form of self-sabotage. You are there for everybody else but yourself. You neglect your own things and you are considered to be reliable by other people. So you finish building everybody else's house except yours. Fixing everybody else's garden except yours. So when you do that, when you're indecisive and you are a people pleaser, you attract toxic people. People that benefit from your indecision and your people pleasing. They begin to show up in your life. I'm talking about the cost of self-sabotage. The end result is that because you are now going through all these things, you have a negative self-image because you're indecisive. You need people to accept you. You become a people pleaser. And you are surrounded by all the wrong people, toxic people that are just taking, and giving nothing into your life. And guess what? The end result is you reinforce your negative self-image. But what can I do about self-sabotage? What can you do about self-sabotage? You can beat self-sabotage by monitoring. Yes, monitoring your behaviors, your feelings, your thoughts, and your beliefs about yourself. Remember, all these things are happening in your mind. But you can challenge these things that stand between you and your goals and your personal greatness. Guess what? God doesn't make rubbish. Everyone was created with greatness. But the reason why most of us are not where we are supposed to be is because we've not built ourselves up to be able to stand between ourselves and our self-sabotaging behaviors and say, you know what, this behavior is not serving me. This mindset is not serving me. Therefore, I'm going to get rid of it. So understand what is behind the self-sabotage. Then, when you understand what is behind the self-sabotage, develop positive, self-supporting behaviors to say, you know, you can't just get rid of a behavior and think things are going to be all right. You replace that behavior. You replace that pattern. Some of you might need to get an accountability partner to say, you know what, each time I try and pursue something big, I always fail at this point. But this time I want you to hold my hand so that I can cross over. Some of you might need to get a mentor or a counselor, someone who is strong where you are weak, so that should be overcome these tendencies. So in summary, monitor behaviors, feelings, thoughts, and beliefs about yourself. Challenge negative patterns that hinder progress towards your goals. Gain understanding on the underlying causes of self-sabotage. Develop positive self-supporting behaviors to foster personal growth and success. Additionally, like I said, seek support from friends, family, or professionals. Sometimes it might actually need professionals like therapists or even a life coach, so that they help you in understanding the root cause, the underlying cause of that behavior, so that you develop healthier coping mechanisms and habits. Thank you very much. We've come to the end of our presentation. God bless.